Audience, please be warned. There are a ton of spoilers and speculation regarding Star Trek Picard Episode 8 Broken Pieces. So, if you're here for all of it, please enjoy and please attend carefully. And we are back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we are talking about Star Trek Picard, Episode 8, Broken Pieces. And I'm so pleased to be joined once again by PJ from Boatrek. And today we're doing like our usual, we've been doing this for a bit, and thank you so much for being part of my continuity and joining me for this is I think like the 4th or 5th week you've come on. You've come on quite a bit, maybe 3rd week or 4th week.
Third, I believe.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great.
No, thanks for it's nice to talk to someone regularly, because if you're talking with someone new, you have to go through all the ropes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I really appreciate it. So we're here to give our initial reactions / have a discussion about Broken Pieces, and we try to do a summary. We didn't do one last time, but I think it was a little bit
Yeah.
it was a little bit disorganized. So do you want to do the summary, or should I try to do it?
I can try and do it, I guess. Well,
Awesome.
It opens with the zooming in on these 8 stars.
Another flashback.
Yeah, another
So
flashback in the Octarian system. On
Octenary.
Octenary.
No,
No, it's cool. It's cool. Eightfold stars, or whatever they're called.
Or the Conclave of 8, as we find out.
Yeah. Zooms down on the planet, and they're it's called Aya, the Grief World. And
It's such a sad world.
how many women are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Or 11 or 12. Anyway, there's a bunch of
It
women
would have
there.
been cool if there were like 13 women, and if this show aired tomorrow. It does in the UK, so anyways, but go on, sorry.
So this star system explains the whole conclave of 8 thing, so that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
well, we find out that there was possibly a galactic civilization 300,000 years ago that predates even the DNA people from season 5, I think. You remember the Odo-looking
The Chase.
people? The Chase, yeah. So this civilization predates that, and it was a galactic civilization like all over the galaxy. I mean, they were able to move stars. I mean, like no one in Star Trek times can do that. Michael Burnham will in season 3 of Discovery. No, I'm just kidding. That was not meant to be an attack. I apologize. But I love Michael Burnham. But all kidding aside, no, it is pretty crazy that there might have been a civilization. Apparently, they get wiped out, right?
Yeah, it could have been the Star Wars people from a long time ago in a galaxy far,
In a
far
galaxy
away.
far, far
And,
away.
and this is the actual end of their whole civilization. And then
Wow.
years and years later, it led to all this.
Are you trying to unify? Are you saying that Disney's going to buy Star Trek and then combine Star Trek and Star Wars into one big universe?
Well, if Viacom CBS keeps losing stock, yeah, probably.
Are they losing stock, or is everyone losing stock?
Their stock went down. That was expected, but in terms of like growth,
you mean like
terms
today,
of growth,
like
yeah.
this week?
No, well, when I think it was not long after the merger happened. But that's expected because, shake up and all this. But Star Trek...
That reminds me, I have to go buy their stock because you know what they say, buy low, sell high. Thanks, PJ, for
Well,
that tip.
they're banking. I don't know how much they're banking on Trek to make them a lot of money. I don't think they understand the fact that Trek is not
I'm
supposed to.
telling you right now that I'm gonna take all my Apple stock and all my other stocks out and 100% put it into Star Trek. I might fail. Don't fail me, Star Trek.
But it's not meant to be a
I need a
profit.
return.
It's not meant to be a hugely profitable franchise. That's the problem with what they're doing with it. They're trying to appeal to the most broad audience, except for kids, obviously, with Picard. It's like no, that's
Yeah,
not for
this
kids.
is not
But
a show for. It's very important that everyone realize this. And by the way, I have to give an update to some statements that I made earlier. And if you don't mind, I may as well do it now. But I was very critical of Star Trek as an entity for the Jude videos, where this 7-year-old kid was watching and commentating on Star Trek Picard, and I was like very kind of like I know there's like a lot of arguments of like let parents do what they want, and I'm 100% for that to a certain degree, but it was just distressing for
the
me because
the what
I
video? The Jude
there's
video?
these Star Trek put out these videos of this kid watching Star Trek Picard and reacting to it, and it started with the first episode, and I was horrified because I mean Dodge gets melted and and like blown up, and you have like sex in the episode, and you have like killing, and you know there's like a lot of violence and stuff, and I just thought like is 7 years old like old enough to see that stuff? Like it was just kind of like shaking, giving me some nervousness, and so I made some critiques about it. But recently they put out a great video with the same. I think that like it would have been terrible to cancel poor Jude's contract just because a bunch of people like me were sensitive. So I like what they did is they reorganized the show, and now Jude was painting a picture of Daj with Isa Briones, and it was awesome, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that's the kind of fun stuff Star Trek should include kids in. so, so I was very pleased, and I have to say that I'm sorry if I was too harsh, but I'm really glad that this latest video of this kid commentating on Star Trek was something delightful that all kids could relate to.
Yeah, there could be a way to make. The problem with Discovery and Picard is that you can't really put them on in the daytime. The Space Channel, before it was CTV Sci-Fi, got in trouble because they aired the episode where Tilly says "fuck" and then Stamets repeats it. But in Canada, you're not allowed to have that language before a certain time.
I like that. Oh, that's great.
But where they aired,
I think
they actually got fined, I believe, if I remember correctly.
It's the same in the U.S., but since Star Trek doesn't air on TV, they don't have that problem here. It only is available through streaming in the United States.
Yeah. All right, we should get back to the summary.
Yes, you were doing a great job. I apologize. Go
on. Anyway, Commodore O this is 14 years ago on this planet, and they're all gathered around this circular thing. And Commodore O talks about this thing that warns them of the horror of an annihilation that came from the skies when our foremothers first endured the abomination. We, the Zod Vash, were born. And if you're hearing beeping right now, my cat's playing with its toy. Sorry about that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. No, that's great for the ASMR audience. That's awesome.
And she says to prevent we must prevent a second coming of these destroyers. And she's telling the women, this is work you must carry on. Some of you will go mad. Those of you who will endure will basically, I don't know, you'll be stronger for it. You'll be more empowered. And of course,
Narissa freaking is like the only one left standing.
She's so messed up that like this stuff doesn't phase her as much.
She's like ready. After that, her life changed. She might have been a sweet girl before that.
Can I talk about how much I absolutely despise this scene? That I put it up with how much I hate the E-chip scene.
Can we do something different? Can you tell me how much you despise it without accusing the writers of being lazy?
Oh no, this is I see these kind of problems from a top-down thing. This is the producers and the showrunners.
All right, but can you tell us, like, narratively, I guess, what you have a
Narratively,
problem
yes,
with?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I appreciate the fact that we're getting to see where the conclave of eight is. It's a bunch of stars, and we see this planet. We see the. It's not the origin of the Zadvash, but it's a ceremony that's being passed on to these new recruits. One of them being Narissa, and the other one being her aunt. What's her name? The mystic
Ramda.
Ramda. And pretty much they all go mad. But see, I hate this thing where they do. You want to convey to the audience what exactly is making them go absolutely crazy, and it's just this flashes of stuff that it's like showing us something but then nothing at all. And if you actually slow down and look at some of these images, one of them's a rotting fox with like maggots in it and stuff.
It is?
Oh yeah. There's a
wow, you got to go deep into it. I haven't done that yet.
There's a famous time lapse video that's old as the hills, where it shows a dead fox's body decomposing.
And they inserted the same one you're saying into the scene?
Yeah, it's like literally you can get the image from Google. You type
That's
in
kind of cool.
rotting fox or something like that, or you go on YouTube and look up.
Do you think
rotting fox video?
Do you think memes are what makes those people go crazy? I created a meme with that one lady. No, but in seriousness, I actually kind of see where you're going with this. But I welcome you to, of course, complete your thought. But I kind of agree that I want something that's going to make me a little crazy, if you know what I mean. And none of those things are making me crazy. Like I don't relate to the characters that are going nuts. I'm like, you're just seeing like scenes from Terminator 2, and like, you know, I thought one of the things I noticed, which was kind of cool, which made sense a little bit, which kind of makes me crazy, is that they did show what Data looks like without his skin on, and then you slowly start to see Data forming around that like skeleton. And that was interesting, and that was the only thing that kind of struck my attention. But everything else was kind of, you're right, like kind of, what is this? Why is this making them crazy?
And that's a big question too. Why, if this is a vision from the distant past, then why is Data there?
Well, I'm assuming it's. I gotta watch it again. I'm assuming it's Data, but
no, it is. It is.
Okay, you did notice that too. Okay.
I don't listen. I don't know if it's like, okay. I don't know if
you don't think that
I don't know. I don't know if the face without the skin is Data. Maybe that's the ancient species of synths. And then the forming of Data over that is like the prophecy of.
Would you be
Noonien Soon's work would be the catalyst for the threshold.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you be okay with this revelation? What if they reveal? This is totally out of my headcanon or whatever, or not, just imagination.
Yeah.
What if they reveal that Noonien Soon had found an ancient synth that survived and it was not functioning, and he based Data and Lore and all the other ones after that creation, and that's why shit's getting real, because what Data is much more than just a creation of his own. It's Data himself was based on this like original synthetic life form.
You put more thought into that than I think they would have.
But you like that.
Yeah, that's good. But here's another thing that might be in that same kind of wheelhouse. We know Noonien Soon didn't have any children, or so we think, right? Or so we think.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. It would actually be a surprise if they actually went there. But this planet that they're going to, where like apparently all the synths live.
I'm really very curious about that. But anyways, go on.
Wouldn't it be interesting if kind of the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain is a great grandson or something of,
or not a Soong type android, but a Soong android, like an android of Soong.
No, a human descendant of Soon.
Oh, gotcha. I like that too, actually.
Who carried on his work, and then Bruce Maddox, after the synth ban,
That's why he
discovered
said Sung. That's why he said Sung.
yeah, discovered
Oh.
this and worked with him to create this species of synths.
And Brent Spiner can play the son of Sung.
That's exactly.
Or the daughter.
He would be a man.
I'm just kidding.
Let's call him Charles Soon or something like that.
Yeah.
Brent Spiner could play him if you could easily make him a man in his 70s, and Brent Spiner could play a Soon in a modern.
Is Brent Spiner in his 70s? By the way, I could have sworn by how he looks.
He's 72.
Oh, he looks like he's in his 50s. Good job, Brent Spiner.
Yeah, he's aged well, I guess. Well,
yeah,
I think in Nemesis he was like 50 years old. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot. Brent Spiner looks so great. Sorry to go on that tangent, but going back to the narrative you were saying, and I kind of agree with you. Like, I'm not really seeing much to be shocked at, but we'll see. It could get deeper. Anyways,
that could be I think that could be a twist that could, the people who kind of complained about the show, to see Brent Spiner as a descendant of Noonien Soon, that would be, I think that would satisfy a lot of people. Not really make up for everything that they didn't like about the show before, but really put a really
keep
great
their interest, keep them engaged, if you will, right? Yes. I like that.
Indeed. So
anyway, so what happens next?
Yeah, and all the women go crazy. One girl in this
beats herself with a rock.
Well, first we see a woman blow her brains out with a pistol, and then one woman scratches her face.
That's what happens when you see.
She doesn't.
That's what happens when you see Brent Spiner, and you wonder how could this man be in his 70s. You go crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Very bad joke.
That image of the woman scratching her face is like, oh.
I've been using that unabashedly everywhere.
I hate that. It looks gross.
It does look gross.
And here's the one that I fucking hated. When the woman starts bashing her head with a rock. And listen, the way this is edited is like a cheap fucking horror movie. It irks me to no degree.
That's funny because I like that only because I like those crazy like horror movies like Suspiria and like the Italian,
Jesus Christ, do not compare
Suspiria. Don't compare.
Because Suspiria, the original Italian version is just like this beautifully shot, wonderfully like beautiful looking movie.
You don't think that's how
that is so well crafted? But I'm talking about the modern kind of straight to video cheap horror movie. It's like quick flashes and like quick violent images and like in your face kind of shit. And it's like, okay, we get it, violence and people going mad, committing suicide, and like there's so much death in this fucking show, man. It gets really drags you down.
It is heavy. It's a heavy freaking show. But I think. No, I agree. I'm totally on the same page with you about the death stuff, but at the same time, I don't know. It's so hard because I'm like, you know how I feel about the show. I love it a lot, and I love where they're going. But
10 out of 10, baby.
10 out of 10. I might. You never know. I'm open to my rating's always open with these discussions. Sometimes I'm convinced. You never.
No,
know,
listen. So. A lot of people, and you're one of them, can watch it and certainly like. Listen to a person like me bitch about it and say, hey, I get that, I understand that, but it doesn't affect your enjoyment, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's not differing opinion. You shouldn't be trying to convince.
It affects me in a different way because I do want Star Trek to be universal to some degree, but I have to admit, like, as an adult, I'm like, this is the first Star Trek that's just for adults, and it's kind of special to me because it's like I grew up watching TNG, and now I'm an adult, and I get to kind of experience this. But I 100% agree. There's like if I were in charge of the show, I may have chosen a lot less violence. I may have done something different. The scenes like when she kills the XB, it's just brutal, and I just couldn't deal with that. It was hard to watch.
Yes, the
But I do
imagery.
have to. I have to admit that even though I think she beams out Narissa,
She does.
for that one moment when the Borg, the ex Borg, finally get her, I was so happy and I felt bad about it.
Yeah.
But I was screaming at the screen. I was like, "Yes, die!" And I may have said like a word that's unbecoming of a gentleman.
Did
when
you
I thought
did you call her a cunt?
I called her a B word. I called
Oh
her a
Jesus,
bitch.
that's not so bad.
Okay, thanks.
You can call men that. You can
Yes, you
call
can. It's true.
you can call men the c word too. I've said that to men.
You apparently can't. No, I'm a swearer. I definitely swear. If you listen to Drunk Space Nine, you know I'm a swearer. But like
Equal
it's
opportunity swearing.
so yeah. But anyways, going back to the point in the summary. So was there anything more about that scene on the planet of what is it? Madness? No, you said it earlier.
The,
Sorrows. The planet of
the grief planet.
the grief planet.
Oh yeah, and I also don't
Um,
like Rhonda pulling out her hair. And, it's like,
but doesn't it kind of, okay? So the next scene is Ramda in a coma with Narissa. Did you think there was a little bit of sympathy for the devil in the scene? I mean, she's kind of like really nice to her aunt, and we don't know anything about Ramda yet. And like, I mean, what are the Jad Vash? Are they really truly evil, or are they just misguided? Like, what's your opinion on that?
see, I believe they don't think they're evil. I think they're trying to save uh, all sentient life, which is a tired ass fucking thing that they did in goddamn last season in
They're not
Discovery.
saying it, but they're not saying that in this. I mean, I know that that's what's at stake.
That's literally what it is. It's the
Well,
exact
so
same
the
thing. It's
okay,
about
but
it's about
Picard does a beautiful. Picard does something that I think Discovery wanted to do or tried to do, but this is something where I think it's a very important distinction. Like, someone
is
I think I forget who it was who said, "I'm really tired of these like cataclysmic events that might destroy all life in the universe." Right?
yeah.
But when you think about it, like here is something different at stake. Whatever she says, whatever's coming is far worse than the Borg reactivating, right? And
Yeah.
in a way, she's right. Like whatever's coming was able to destroy all life in the galaxy. Already did it. Not like what Control was planning to do. Like Control was trying to do it, right? This is an entity that already destroyed all life in the galaxy. Whatever's coming.
Yeah,
And
there's a
so I think
problem
what
with that though.
happened, but like consider what may have happened is the synths
Yeah.
may have, this could be cool because it could tie into Star Trek the Motion Picture in an interesting way, and I'll tell you why. Because the synths may have eradicated life in the galaxy, and then they went off to their synth world or their synth part of, it could be beyond the Great Barrier, let's call it, right? It's somewhere outside of our galaxy, and they just hang out there, and they're all cool and everything. But when they see that synthetic life is threatened again in the galaxy, they come in and they play like Big Daddy, kind of like the probe. The probe could have destroyed Earth. It came from somewhere outside of our knowledge, like a part of the galaxy that we don't know about, right? Or possibly beyond the galaxy. And if you read the Borg, the Star Trek The Next Generation novel Vendetta, which I know it's not canon, but it was a very good book. There's also reference to like these beings that come from outside of our galaxy. I think that's the direction they're going in, and I'm not sure what they're gonna do or how they're gonna play it, but I kind of am excited about that because it links so much Star Trek of the past for me personally. But I don't know.
Do you believe that with the similarities between Discovery season 2 and Picard, that there's a connection?
Michael Chabon does these like question and answer sessions on Instagram. I don't know if you have Instagram or not.
I've
And
read over some of his responses. Yeah.
I saw one. I can try to pull it up, but if you don't mind, I'll just try to paraphrase it. But someone basically asked that question about control, and he goes, "It's totally plausible, but it wouldn't be any fun, would it?" And it kind of suggests that they're trying to do something different and new and not connected to control. Control, I think, will continue to come into play in Discovery season 3, but it's a different threat. It's not one that's threatening what's it's not what's happening now. And what we might discover, what Picard would do, which would totally amaze me and surprise me, is that if, just like how they thought that the jellyfish aliens were a threat, but they discovered that actually they misunderstood what they were after, wouldn't it be cool if we get a revelation like that? If Picard doesn't end on a cataclysmic note, if it instead ends on this note of like, discovery and exploration, and like, hey, don't rush into this idea that this powerful thing that's coming from outside our galaxy or whatever is a threat.
Yeah.
And even if the Zhat Vash don't agree with that, Picard like would do everything to preserve peace and preserve like goodness. And he even says it at the end of this episode. And I thought, actually, like, if there's anything that redeems this episode, the scene where he's sitting with Rios and like going over like the difference between the Zhat Vash and their mentality, and how like, yes, he goes, whatever, 300 fucking thousand years ago, this may have been something that happened, but it doesn't have to happen again. That's something that's totally irrational. If you like think about the tools we have, like openness and curiosity, and I forget what else he says, but it was like really great, moment. He goes, the real destroyer is not a person, it's fear and secrecy.
Exactly.
And I think that's such a relevant thing, not just, but like in a nice way, in a subtle way, in a great way, not like over your head, hitting you over the head and saying like Donald Trump is bad, or this or that person is bad. It's just like kind of gets to the heart of what's wrong with our society in a way, is that we have a lot of secrecy, and we have a lot of like, control, and like, we believe that there's a threat and all that, and like, it may be fabricated, it may not be real, and people come from good intentions. The Zhat Vash certainly are trying to do a good thing, they think, but when you're exclusionary, when you believe another life form is lesser, it's only going to lead to destruction.
And that's a really good point. And Picard's insistence that the synths aren't going to turn out to be the destroyers, which he's well aware of. This is what's been said. Like he's totally aware of this. But do you notice that conversation he has with Rios later? And then Rios says, "Well, she did, hack my ship pretty quickly." And Picard's reaction is like, "Okay, man, I understand, but just hear me out. Like we can't give in to fear. Like that's what Starfleet did, and we could have sidestepped all of that and like pursued peace and diplomacy, but they didn't do that." And I believe, out of all like his weird behavior throughout the series, when he speaks like that, that's the most Picard will ever get, right?
So Picard,
this is why the show, like, it needs to end on that note where they go meet the synths and they find out that they're not a threat, and history won't repeat itself just because a synthetic life forms did that in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again. Like you said, you gotta trust, you gotta find a way to connect, and if you look down on them and misjudge them, there may be retaliation, because Soji even says to Jurati, like, do you see me as a person? Do you see me as a person like you? They want validation.
Yeah, it's true. They do.
And
who doesn't?
That's how.
Isn't that what we all want, right?
That's how it needs to end. Like Commodore O needs to realize that, okay, I was wrong. Maybe she needs to meet them, or maybe the Romulans, and maybe Narek's mind has changed. I would love it to end on that kind of positive note, where it's not like a big all-out war, but it's like a diplomatic understanding.
Like the end of Star Trek 6, there was a battle, it happened, but that wasn't the point. The point was like saving Azitber and like letting her realize that even the villainous Captain Kirk, who she hated because he openly admitted that he didn't trust Klingons and he was a racist, would risk his own life to save hers. And that was like such a poignant moment in Star Trek 6, and I think that's like the way
bastards
that this show.
They killed my boy.
Klingon bastards, you killed my son. Klingon bastards.
Admiral, David is
Oh,
dead.
Klingon bastards! I know that's such a good. You did that well, by the way. That was a really like great. I thought Robin Curtis did such a good job at being a Vulcan slash Romulan, hybrid. I hate that word, but
Can we talk about those goddamn comedic hologram scenes?
okay. But I loved it when they all hit their head at the same time. Like
Yeah.
that was really funny, and like I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what people say about the accents, but I loved it. I thought that was funny.
It was like a comedy sketch scene.
Totally,
It worked and it didn't. It was cringy, but it was somewhat funny. You know the funniest moment in this whole episode that I actually genuinely burst out laughing at, and
What was it?
I think it's the first moment where I laughed at intentional comedy.
Ooh.
It's when Picard sits in the captain's chair. And he's like,
That was
I don't know how to work this.
that was we all watched it together as a family, and everyone like we were just like, oh god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Another moment that I really loved, since we didn't do the summary again because we can't, because we're so
Yeah,
high.
let's just go all over
You want
the
to get
place.
back? Okay, let's just forget. Audience,
Talk.
we did it again.
Well, we're into the positives now. We should stick with the positives for as long as we can, and then I have some serious negatives, I guess, if you have any.
I like to end on the positives, so I would love to get the negatives out of the way. But if you want to end on the negatives, that's fine with me too.
It doesn't matter.
All right, so let's just dive into your biggest problems with the episode. I at the very least, I don't know if I'll have a counter, but I want to hear them.
Elmore. Elnor's Elmore.
Okay.
Sounds like a glue.
We have to talk a lot about the Borg cube, but I'm
Oh.
glad you brought up Elnor. But anyways, go on. I have a lot of questions because I'm not complete on Voyager, and I think you know all the 709 stuff. So
You know, I appreciate they're trying to make Elnor humorous and whatnot. I just don't get how he's gallivanting around in this cube, and it's just, they can't find him, and he's not cloaked or anything. They can't beam him into the brig or out to space if they wanted to. Like it's this convoluted kind of cat and mouse
only
game
defense-
he has with the Romulans. Then they throw a fucking flash grenade in there. Why don't they just shoot? And they take every opportunity to not shoot at him.
I have to say it is dumb that they put themselves in the hole of that. They put themselves in this hole of Romulan disruptors don't have a stun setting. I think that's why. First of all, they're there to capture him. There's a couple of explanations that I actually thought a lot about this because I love Elnor, as you know, right? And I was a little disappointed that he didn't keep going with Picard. Even though I was curious, but I was like, why didn't he just go with Picard? Like,
you know what it feels like? It feels like they needed him to be in the cube to do certain things because they were going to kill Hugh off. However, if you just had Elnor go with Picard and have Hugh stay alive, it would have been so much better if he called Seven, and they worked together. I would have loved that so much more, right?
I know, me too. But like, here's the thing: like, when you're writing the show, and I'm not an expert on writers, writing or whatever. But like, just for me personally, if I were writing the show, like, I would understand kind of this choice because giving the audience Hugh and 7 of 9 is like fan service a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like that's what the audience does. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it's like it is unbelievable a little bit. I didn't like Hugh's death at all. Hugh's one of my favorite Star Trek characters ever. When I was a kid, I like completely loved the character. I think Jonathan Del Arco was one of my first crushes. It's really weird. I know that I had a crush on a guy dressed up like a Borg.
It's sad. It's sad that that Hugh and Seven have a history in this show so far, and we didn't get an opportunity to see them together.
I know, and it gets deeper because, well, that's where. This is one thing I liked about this thing. Elnor finds the Fenris Ranger beacon, and Chabon clarifies in his Instagram chats that is actually Hugh's copy. Like, he has his own, and so that was Hugh's.
Yeah, I realized that after. Yeah.
And, well, I was confused too because I thought, oh, did Jean-Luc drop his? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know.
Conceptually, it's not illustrated well because it's a wide shot of Elnor in a little cube area, but then you realize, oh, that's actually Hugh's office, and
Right, or
that's the
his
thing.
cell. He
His
calls it a
cell,
cell.
his
Yeah.
cell, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Anyways, I like that, and it what I like is that, you know, even though Hugh's dead, there's a possibility to do like Seven of Nine and Hugh story, either in a Seven of Nine show that's set in the
a
past.
prequel or a little short,
Yeah.
short track.
Yeah, or short tracks. Yeah, exactly. So that's my silver lining for that.
So what did you think of Elnor when Seven comes in and saves the day? Well, shoots a couple of guys, and Elnor hugs her, and he's like, "Oh, mommy, you're here. I love
Totally-
you.
totally how I feel.
Give us a kiss."
So I really like, you know,
That's a bad accident. I'm sorry about that.
No, that was bad. Is it he's a Kiwi, right? No, or is he Australian? He's Australian. The actor who plays Elnor is Australian. I think he keeps his own accent. But anyways,
Yeah, he has a great accent in the show. Actually, it's great.
My choice would have been, again, I'm not a writer. My choice would have been for Elnor to stick with Picard. I really like that dynamic. But that being said, I also do like the pairing of Elnor and Seven of Nine. I do think that like she can teach him a lot, and I think he will help. He's so candid that I think he'll help her think about things that she hasn't thought about in years. She's been kind of living this like very solitary, you know, like a wolf would be, you know, like a solitary life where she's been mainly in her own head, and she's obsessed with revenge and all this. And I think Elnor would be I think actually Elnor, I like that scene where he's like, "Are you going to assimilate me now?" And she kind of looks at it like Annika still has work to do. So here's my question. I have a lot of questions. So
you know what Elnor is now. Elnor is Seven's new E-chip.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. I think you hit the nail on the head.
There's going to be a Seven and Elnor spinoff.
He's also my new Hugh, because in a way he's a lot like Hugh. He's very innocent, very kind, and then also very like, you know, protective of those that he cares about. And that's like, I love that Hugh even said, like, I also love that he like took on Hugh's cause. Like Hugh, when he's dying, it's a very intimate moment where he kind of like touches Elnor's face and he says, "How's that for lost causes?" And I think that like affects Elnor very deeply. And so when it's like a double meaning. When Seven of Nine is like, "Why did you stay behind?" He says, Picard released me, and I found an even more lost cause. So he is now living. He is also kind of going to avenge Hugh. Hammer of Draktar, I shall avenge you. I'm not sure what the line actually is, but I wish he said so. Do you know what I'm talking about from Galaxy Quest, the Alan Rickman's character?
Oh, by the hammer of... Yeah.
By the hammer of Draktar, I shall avenge you. Or whatever it was. I can't remember. I'm sure someone in the audience will correct me, but I do like that Elnor is independent. Like, he's kind of like fighting this lost cause, and it is a lost cause, like the Borg.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of like the ultimate lost cause. How can you unassimilate all the Borg? Like, that's an interesting story, and I believe if anyone deserves to have that story, it's Seven of Nine's character.
By the hammer of Grabthar.
By the hammer of Grabthar, I shall avenge you. An interesting concept, and I think like poetic justice would be if somehow Annika versus the actual Borg Queen, and she frees the collective. Imagine that. You know, who knows how that could end.
My assumption is that Seven will lead the ship to the planet that they go to. And,
I think that she's lost all her Borg siblings. They're gone. That was brutal. Can I ask you? That was pretty. Like, even though the Borg, they're like.
Can I just say something about how Starfleet's got to show up there, right? And the other Romulans. Narek got through, right? But everybody else has to take a little more time to get there.
Yeah, it has to race over. But the Zhat Vash, it's going to be... structurally speaking, it's going to be exactly the battle at the end of season 2 of Discovery, because
Exactly it. The first part's going to be all of the setup to it, and then the whole big
the
thing
second part
happened.
is going to
Yeah.
be the cavalry comes in and saves the day.
Just imagine a Borg cube saving humanity.
Oh my effing god!
But but
I mean, it's like
but the thing that would make
just
fans
the
cream
cube
their
in and
the thing that would make fans cream their jeans is that, like, you got boom shoom. Who comes in but Worf in the Enterprise?
Oh my
Boom.
god!
Who comes in but Admiral Janeway temporarily taking over the new Voyager ship?
The squadron.
Uh,
What a fucking crazy squadron that would be. Geordi comes in, and why not the hospital ship, the Pasteur too? I want it all. They're not gonna do it. These writers are very. Chabon, I think, is holding back. I think the whole directive. I think what Patrick Stewart wanted is he's like, I don't want it to be like.
You can
I don't
give us
want
you can give us a little something in the end, though. I mean,
They're
Worf,
gonna give us
Worf at least, because listen,
We'll come back to this. Yeah.
there was a whole thing about Michael Dorn being on the set, not only for the episode that they filmed with Deanna Troy or Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis. Not only that one, but the very last one that they filmed, he signed the slate. So
Ooh, there's some characters that, like, Worf is one of those characters. He has gone so far. He hit Michael Dorn is in Star Trek 6. A Worf character is in Star Trek 6, and Michael Dorn goes all the way to Deep Space Nine and the films. And so, yeah, I 100% agree that would be. I think I would definitely that would be among the things that if they pulled that off, it would be pretty epic. I agree.
And by the way, Alex Kurtzman, I know I can't trust everything he says, but he said that if we do see him, not that we will, but if we do, he will look like he did, and there won't be any messing around that way.
I heard that too, and that was very, like, my heart was at ease, and I didn't tear my face apart or my hair out or hit myself on the head up with a rock, which
And
is
I-
what I would do if Worf looked like a Star Trek Discovery Klingon. That's what would happen. You would see me, like, rip my hair out. I would tear my skin.
Oh,
I would
God.
take a rock and hit myself on the head, and then I would take a phaser and blow my brains out. So I'm really glad to hear that. Has anyone done a Photoshop of Worf looking like a Discovery era Klingon?
Maybe, I don't know.
I'd love to see that.
Okay,
PJ,
so we're finally at the credits. 42 minutes in.
I gotta talk about the scene before there's two things I had on my notes that I want to talk about.
Okay.
Did you get all your negatives out of the way?
Oh, hell no. God, I haven't even started.
Okay, I'll throw in one scene and then I'll save the other one for last to end because it's a positive scene that I really like. So unless you get to it before me. But the one scene I want to talk about is Rafi was great in this episode. Her whole sleuthing around, and, like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but I feel like this was as much a Rafi episode as anything else. And then I also want to talk about Agnes Girardi and, like, do you forgive her? So those are my two next things. Oh, wait, sorry, we have to go back to before any of that. I have a bunch of questions about the Borg cube thing. It was pointed out to me that it seemed like really impossible that Annika 7 of 9 could just magically interface with the Borg cube, and my argument is that her Borg implants can build things on the fly to help her interface with Borg technology, and so she was able to do that. And that's why you see that she's in pain. It's because her nanoprobes or whatever are creating the ports necessary to interface with the Borg cube the same way that the Queen would. Because I think the Borg are so efficient that if the Queen were disabled for some reason, like, you know how in, like, First Contact the Borg Queen is, like, melted, right?
Yeah.
I think that the Borg are so efficient that, like, another Borg could, whether it's male or female, could resume the duties that the central node, which is what the Borg Queen essentially is, would take on. And so I think that, like, that is not far-fetched. What do you think, based on Voyager knowledge?
Yeah, I buy that she can kind
She
of
can
do it.
interface
She can
and
interface
hack.
because I don't think any old drone or even XB could do that. But Hugh obviously was special enough to get access to it and the Sicarian technology, which is probably like highly secure. And with Seven, uh, when she was assimilated, I guess, back into the collective and kind of took over, that it, they, I guess the ship let her because of her experience. They probably just knew that she knew what she was doing. It's strange. It's strange to kind of try to explain, but I bought it anyway. I
Good.
didn't
I'm
like.
glad to hear that, 'cause
I didn't like the effect of how that happened.
really,
Oh yeah,
I to
it
me
looked
it was
terrible.
really, because to me it was like I thought I was watching like a cool movie in the movie theater, and not only that, when the Borg cube turns on, I got a rush. Like it gave me such a rush, and then I was so fucking upset. Sorry, I just fucking Hubert, shut the fuck up, Jean Luc. I'm sending a squadron, you little bitch. I love when he claps at the end of that scene. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like the fact that he has no problem with people. There's
Swearing
actually
at him. Yeah.
this is a fact. I think in almost every episode, Picard gets chewed out by a woman. Now this isn't a female agenda thing. But do you notice how every time Picard just he's not phased by it. Picard can take it. It's
You
not
can
like it's
say-
not it's not like they're yelling at him and he's like, oh now my self esteem is ruined. After fucking what's her name Clancy says, listen Picard, just shut the fuck up. I'll give you your damn ships. He don't care that she said that. He claps his hands in joy like yes. Fucking
Yes, he's
bitch gave
like,
me what I wanted.
oh my gosh, I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't call her a B word.
Oh,
Definitely never.
who cares?
I know. I
Who,
know. It's
if, seriously,
Bitch is okay. Bitch is okay. You're right. But I agree.
yeah,
So the sentiment.
there's certain inflections when you use that word that mean
Yeah.
different
No, it's
things. So
true.
you know,
That's the thing. That's the beauty of cursing, is that it's so dependent on tone. But
yeah,
but to that but that note, I got really excited in that scene, and I also thought it was a good follow up to the first time when she's like sheer fucking hubris. I still don't like that as Starfleet, like the CNC of Starfleet, the commander in chief of Starfleet thinks it's okay to curse, but maybe they're friends. He does when he first goes to her office. He does. Maybe this is like a thing that he's used to with her
oh my
when he
god,
first goes.
I can't wait for like Commodore O or Clancy to be like telling a male officer like, listen man, suck my dick, like like Roseanne used to say in the 80s and shit.
Oh, Roseanne, I love Roseanne. Um,
You
I
like
think
that
that
racist? What's wrong with you? No, I'm
is
joking.
she
I'm
a
joking.
racist?
I don't
I've been
care.
listening to her. I
I
don't think
just
she is.
I don't care about Roseanne. I'm glad they killed her off
I
in the show because
this
the Connors is actually better now.
really?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
really? I got to check it out. Then you gave
Yeah,
me some you gave me some hope. I think that most people who are labeled as racist are not really racist. They've said racist things, but I don't think that they truly are in their hearts. I think there are racists in the planet, and we have to be careful of them.
yeah,
But I think that those are the people that you would never know they're racist. The true racists are like evil fucking people that pretend to not be racist. I think that like if someone's like showing racist tendencies,
yeah.
it means that they have no idea that they're racist and that they're trying to and they can be educated. You know what I mean? Like that's my belief. But I don't know, that's controversial. We're not here to talk about that on Starfleet Boy. Every time we talk about politics or race, we get like a ton of hate mail, and I try to avoid it. So I apologize to audience members who love that stuff, but we try to stay away from it on Starfleet Boy if we can.
I don't see color because I'm literally colorblind. But
And
anyway,
Michael Jackson said, "Oh, you are? That's interesting." And Michael Jackson said, "I'm not going to spend my life being a color," and you know, that's a good way to be.
oh
But
god, oh sweet Jesus, let's get back into the summary.
what the
Talk.
heck are you? It. I
I can't
didn't know. You can ken something, but you don't know. What did he say? I forget, but it's really weird.
Ken is I don't know, but It's
Do
an
you
old.
forgive?
It's a very very old way of saying I don't know in Scotland, and nobody has ever said it for like 100 years, hundreds of years.
Except
But you know the Scottish engineer was kind of like a parody of Scotty, I guess. But
I loved it. I thought I saw that
mixed with a
exactly.
fisherman from the lighthouse. Uh,
Oh, why did you spill your beans? Oh, why don't you spill your beans? Why
you're
don't you spill your?
you're fond of me lobster. No, but that's Irish. But
Well,
but the Scottish one, you know who he sounds
Newfoundland.
like? As soon as he started talking, I was like, oh my god, Ducktales, ooh! But he sounds just like
There's
Scrooge
a
McDuck.
fairy.
He's
He
like,
does.
I think I can like they can aid me. I do
I'm
not
cheersing
know.
with I'm
Get in
cheersing
my
with
belly.
water, but I want. I'm cheersing with water, but I'd like to give a shout out to Santiago Cabrera, who I think is phenomenal for performing the way he does. Just from a technical way, he has to do each character, and they all seem very distinct. Like they have a very interesting personality, each of them. But on top of that, here's a toast to Captain Vandermeer, the
He's
new
not the greatest.
captain.
He's not the greatest at the Scottish and the Irish accents, and he even slips out of his Chilean accent every now and again. But I do commend the fact that they did this like Eddie Murphy style, like same guy playing all these different characters with different quirks,
Oh, good point. I didn't think about that.
and that's a very complicated thing to do. Some of it worked and some of it didn't. I didn't really laugh at anything. There's one thing where Rafi says, she says, "Dude, that's not even a language" or something like that.
Yeah.
When the Scottish guy's like saying things that you can't understand. Yeah. But you know, it's the tone of this series is like all over the place. It's goofy and weird, and then it's like super super serious. And I don't like the fact that they forgave Girardi. She comes out. I hate this is one of the worst scenes in the episode. She comes out. She goes, "Yeah, I'm all done with killing or murdering people." Like, and they're like, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, what the fuck is this? Sorry, but like,
I didn't see the forgiveness, but I felt like they felt sorry for her because she's kind of tragic. Like whatever O did to her, like made her crazy, and that's a. So O's done this a couple times. I wanted to talk about that. Like she convinced Vandermeer to shoot the two. By the way, can we talk about Flower? Beautiful Flower. What is he? Who is he? What do you think about that? Like that's a curious thing. Like
my prediction is when you see Beautiful Flower or a rendition,
if we do it all,
but because there's going to be like a lot of Soji types probably on this planet, like a lot of Issa Briones like everywhere,
right?
And I think
I agree.
I think the Beautiful Flower guy may be the actor who played F8 but in human form.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know how that connects.
That's a good guess. That's an interesting guess. I don't know if we'll even see Beautiful Flower.
I think in episode 9, when they get there, we're going to meet a whole bunch of these guys.
The weird ship in episode 9 in the trailer looks like a flower that comes from the surface. It looks like a Demogorgon head.
I think it's going to be like they seem threatening at first, and it's going to be like, oh my god, they're bad. And then it's like, no, we're cool. Come down, have a look around.
I think that
it's like
ship envelops the La Sirena and then takes them down into the planet, and that's the scene that we're seeing in the
it looks like they're going to be destroyed, but they're just being transported
taken into the planet. They're being forcefully taken to where they want them to land. Yeah. Wow, PJ, we're so good at this show. We're at an hour, and I feel like we talked about everything, but we haven't talked about everything. My note on Girardi is I don't think they forgave her, but I do think that they feel sorry for her. I do think that I feel sorry for her actually because O corrupted her, and I want to say something about Captain Vandermeer. Like that's pretty epic too. Like O gave her no choice. Like, what would you do as a captain if the head of Starfleet security said, "I have a button that I can push that will destroy your ship"? First of all, do you believe her?
I don't
Is that a
understand.
real
I
thing?
don't understand how Commodore O has gotten away with making those calls. That hey, there's two.
Sometimes it's a
There's
bluff, and it sometimes it's a bluff and it pays off, and it might have been something that's not real, but she convinced Admiral Captain Vandermeer that it was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Do you think
Like,
she she did the same thing she did with Girardi?
no, I think in this case she convinced him that she was able to control. You know, you can remote control these starships to a degree. Like, you remember in Star Trek 2, you had the ability to do the access code and then shut down the shields, right? So I do think that like that's something that might be a reality,
Mm.
and it makes sense from a strategic standpoint. Like, let's say you have an experimental ship, and it gets into Romulan hands, right? Like, you would want to have a button that you could push from like Starfleet headquarters. It's a horrible thing to do, but like you push the button and the ship destroys itself. And when you're serving in the military, you know that these are the risks. Like, they say it so many times: when you put on that uniform, you accept the risks that
Yeah,
come with the job. You know, like all that
yeah.
stuff. So I think she could have like played on all. I think she could have played on all those emotions and convinced him to shoot these people. I mean, like, if you had to save your crew versus two synthetic life forms that you just discovered, which would you choose? It's a hard choice.
Yeah, and he blew his brains out. Uh,
And then Rios has to cover up for him, make it seem real so that Starfleet Command doesn't blow up the ship, and then he has to pretend that that Vandermeer killed himself for no reason, which is so fucked up. And it kind of explains all his pain. I get it. Like, I feel like I vibe with that.
Here's the interesting thing. Uh, isn't it a coincidence? Now, I'm going to go back a couple episodes, but I got a point here. You know, when they leave Vashti and they're attacked by that warlord, Seven shows up, right? Now, isn't it convenient that in the very next episode, they have to go to Free Cloud to find this particular woman who happens to be the one that killed Ichep, and that's how she exacts her revenge. Then we get to when Soji arrives on the La Serena, and Rios is tripping out. It's like, oh my
Another
god,
coincidence. Yeah.
it's like this big coincidence where his past is directly tied to the whole synth thing. Just like with the Rikers, we had a little thing with the Rikers, and it's like the whole thing with the synths is deeply connected with them through their son Thad, who died because of the synth band. And I get what they're going for, but this is all just like a little too convenient and convoluted, and it's like
But
a little much, little
but
much.
could Picard? But this gives back to this thing of like, is Picard being kind of played a little bit and being pushed into something? And who's, like, there's a lot of questions. I do agree. There's a lot of coincidences, but
It's
those are
destiny.
like, well, sometimes we find out those coincidences are not coincidences at all. I don't know if anyone ever says this, but I could have sworn Picard or someone once said, "I don't believe in there are no coincidences," but I could be making that up. Uh, all right, cool. I think I talked about everything. I missed. Did you get everything out of your head yet?
I think so.
So the scene I want to talk about is Soji and Picard sitting at the picnic table, talking about her and like what it's like to be an android or whatever, and she's discovering herself. Very touching. And Michael Chabon pointed out that like it's pretty. He in his like thing, he pretty much confirms that there's no reason to think that it's Lore or any other android. It is Data. Soji is a descendant or lineage or stemming from Data. And so that moment was so beautiful to me when she says he loved you. And it reminded I think it was important to remember that Jean-Luc has never been someone comfortable with expressing his emotions and his feelings, and I think that you see that here because he says, "In my own way, I did love
Yeah, I
Commander
like how
Data."
he says that because in my own way means like, yeah, they're acknowledging that they weren't the best of friends, and
Right.
there was a bit of conflict between them. Remember that scene in Generations where his emotions are messed up. Picard has to set him straight. Like there was conflict, but there was always respect, and he loved him for who he was,
And
you know,
ultimately,
as an
how
officer.
could you think of anyone who saves your life as someone you don't like, you love that person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he saves Picard's life.
That was
And
that
that
was
moment in
probably the best
Nemesis,
conversation in the whole episode.
it was a it was a great moment, and I'm glad we're ending on that note. All right, PJ. We kept it under an hour, which is my goal. I didn't tell
Score.
you, but it was my secret goal to like stay as close to an hour as possible. We're at 59 minutes, so it's time to give our ratings for this episode. And I'll go first as always. And I'm gonna stick to my guns and give it another 10 out of 10. Your turn.
4.
Are you serious? After all the fun we had talking about it,
Well, see, the thing when
is
I'm
that your
talking,
real way?
the thing when I'm talking to you, like we focus more on the positive, and I did have some negative things to say, and I also have like some things to say about the whole mass shooting thing and the just just the mass amount of death, and I don't like this whole thing about synths are bad. They're going to destroy the world. They're going to destroy everything. We went through this with Discovery. I believe if there's a connection with Discovery, it's not going to be good. If there's not a connection with Discovery, it's not going to be good. I don't have a good feeling about where this is going. And
Wow. Okay.
but
So
but but
based
but
on the
but but the
yeah.
scenes we talked about, like especially with Soji, I like Soji more now than ever. I like the acting. I like Picard's optimism and stuff like that. The whole stuff with uh, the the holograms is kind of goofy and funny, but I still can't stand anything that's going on with the Borg cube. And when they're jettisoned, all the Borg drones are jettisoned out into space. I was like, really? I know she had to do it, and like she's the bad guy and whatnot, but
The death count in this episode is
ugh.
insane if you count all of that.
And
You're
the
right.
way it
But
started, sets a pretty bad tone for the rest of the episode. But you do get good things here and there, but I'm just totally not interested in like the whole robots bad, they'll kill us all. I'm just so sick of that stuff. And while I can enjoy the nostalgia of watching Picard and stuff like that, but the story just isn't hooking me, and I'm kind of waiting for this to be over to see how it all plays out. And if it pays off, then I'll probably have a lesser or better opinion about it. I have no idea. But
what is
like I
the
said,
average
I'm
score
talking to
and
you, so I'm
times?
going to focus on the positive a little more. But I have to be true to what I really do think about it. So
I love it. No, I appreciate that. It was surprising because I got excited because I thought we were vibing there. But I thought you were gonna give it at least a 6. But the average rating between the two of us is 7, and I think that's not bad.
well,
If you take that,
you give tens all the time.
but I feel it. You got to
You,
respect that if I give it,
you do
you know,
feel it. You do feel it.
I
You
do
do
feel.
explain
Thank
why.
you.
Yes, I understand.
I do explain why. I do feel it, and I try to explain why. So I'm not trying. I'm not just bullshitting over
I
here.
feel you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Just like I believe that you feel your 4, but 7. I think 7 as an average between the two of us is actually not bad. Like as a real
Me, you,
kind of like
Sean,
average.
Sean, and Fathery should do like a whole
I I would love it.
thing at the
I
end of the whole
100%
thing.
agree. I agree. I think we will. I think we will do it. I'll make it so. PJ, do you have anything to promote before we sign out?
No, not really. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the review for the episode. I'm gonna like try and go through it and see exactly what I found wrong and what I can appreciate
I love
about it.
it.
But I have no. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, Friday the 13th. Ooh.
Yeah, you should do it Friday the 13th. By the way, you know I'm a fan of your solo. They're so free form, like it's just your raw thoughts, and you go over it. And I think you're watching as you go, right? Like you're watching the scenes and stuff like that. But it's just like a really fun thing, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I unfortunately have been sick, so I haven't been driving around a lot. But don't worry, I don't have the COVID-19 as far as I know. I don't think I have those symptoms, but I have caught a cold or something like that. So it's at the end, hopefully, and
Oh.
I'll be better. But anyways, I really enjoyed this discussion a lot. I had a great time talking to you, and I appreciate you coming on. And audience, go to Boatrek on YouTube and check out Boatrek1 at Boatrek1 on Twitter to follow PJ. And PJ, I'm so excited that I'll get to react to the next episode, the penultimate episode of Star Trek Picard season 1, with you next week, hopefully, if you're around.
Yeah, if I'm around. No, I will be around.
Yeah. All right. That's what I wanted to hear. All right, audience, please let us know what you thought about this discussion. I'm sorry we couldn't do video today, but sometimes that's just not in the cards, bro. And like this video if you like it. Share it, please. Subscribe. I gotta promote that stuff more often. I don't do it enough. And also to the new subscribers, I appreciate you. Especially, I think we got a new subscriber who lives in Scotland, so I'd love to hear your opinions if you're watching Star Trek, uh, about that character
Yeah,
that
was that
we
accent terrible
are
or not?
terrible or not. We'd love to know more about that. All right, so live long and prosper, Jolan True, and we'll see you next time.